I had a boss that always used to remind me that the devil was in the details. And today I'm here to remind you that the profitability of your product and your business is in the details, whether it be on Amazon, Shopify, or a wholesale business. It's absolutely crucial to understand all costs associated with your product from the time that you place your purchase order with the factory, all the way through shipping costs and landing your product into your warehouse. Understanding these costs is the determining factor into making sure your product or business is profitable or not. My name is Kevin Zimmerman, founder of eBrandery. I'm going to do a cost build and cost analysis with you today on a product so you can see everything that goes into coming up with a good landed cost, because that is what ultimately gets you to a retail price, and factoring in all of your account costs to see whether you're going to be profitable or not. I've seen too many people give either really bad advice or advice that's not thorough enough. And if you follow some of that advice, you may end up scratching your head wondering why your product or your business is not profitable. But the reason is you started off on the wrong foot to begin with. So I want to walk through a real world example with you so you could see everything involved in coming up with a good product cost, and you'll see what it takes to be profitable at the end of the day. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's run through a cost build example and go through all the factors that impact the purchasing of your product, importing your product, and getting the product to your warehouse, because at the end of the day, we need to figure out if we're going to make any money or not. Going through the spreadsheet here that I've used for at least the past 10 years, probably longer than that, we keep track of a lot of data. Some of it I've filled in, but we want to track this information because we do want to be as precise as possible to come up with a retail price, and also to use this template to negotiate price with factory if we have to, because at the end of the day, if we're not profitable, there is no point in purchasing this product. So a lot of this information is blank. Well, let's start filling some information in and see where we land to make money. Let's start with some of the easier information to fill in. And I have started filling in some of the product information just to save some time. Like I've already filled in our product information as it is packaged, because Amazon will need to know that since they charge storage fees per cubic foot. And also I've put in some MasterCard information just so we can get a better gauge of what it will cost to land our product. And that will have a very big impact on your landing costs into your warehouse. But let's fill in some other information, like country of origin. That may seem obvious. I mean, you know where you're shipping your product out of probably, but the country that you're shipping from can have a big difference in your container costs. So for example, if you're shipping out of China, maybe it's running $7,000 right now for a 40-foot container, but maybe India, for example, is closer to 8,000 a container. So that can have a big impact on your shipping costs. But for now, let's say we're shipping out of China. The shipping method, I know a lot of people, especially beginners, like to ship DDP, where the factory pays your duties and any customs fees that are associated with getting the product to your warehouse. I've always shipped either Ex Works or, more often than not, FOB. That's just kind of like an industry standard if you're a larger company, but let's use China FOB in this example, just to show what the cost differences would be as you need to pay duties and any additional tariffs. Product category, this will be Amazon related. Let's say home and garden right now, because in our example, we're going to use a wooden serving board. This standard or oversized column, this will be something that is for Amazon's use. We're going to use that to just get a gauge on what our storage fees will be. Same thing with the FBA fee size tier. In our example, we're already saying in our packaged product information that our weight is 3 pounds. Well, we're going to have to use a large standard because of the product dimensions that I put in. And the fact that it is 3 pounds and not under 3 pounds, that will put us into a different tier. So, based on the information that I put in so far, let's see what information automatically populated into this sheet. So, a freight rate of 70 cents. Let's talk about how we got there. I put in a CBM of 0.0448 based on our master carton. And I have a separate tab here that I keep track of all of the information that I'm pulling data from in doing the cost build. So the CBM information comes from, as an FOB price, I use $7,000 for a container that has 56 CBM in it, and it's $125 per CBM. So if I go back to my original tab where I'm doing the cost build, I am pulling this CBM from my carton dimensions, and this price is coming from the fact that I am able to get 8 pieces into that master carton. So that's where that is coming from. Looking at some of the costs that we have in our sheet now, and we're not quite where we need to be yet, but let's take a look and see where we're at and what's changed and what will change is we know we have a referral fee percentage of 15% based on the category of home and garden that we put in. We're still at referral fee dollars of 30 cents. That will change when we put in a retail price here, but that will change because the referral fee is based on the percentage of the retail. In fact, let's put that in now. Let's say based on the research that we've done, a comparable price for our wood serving board would be $25. So let's put that in now, and you can see that the referral fee dollars changed from 30 cents to $3.75. The other thing that we know is based on the category we're in, the FBA fees are going to be $7.17. That was based on the large standard and the weight of 3 pounds. And our FBA storage fees per unit per month are going to be 14 cents. Now, how I came up with that answer is based on the cubic feet of 0.1577 cubic feet. The current Amazon FBA storage fees are running 87 cents per month per cubic foot for standard and 56 cents per month for oversize. And we're currently in the month of April. We can automatically change that because during peak season, October through November, those storage fees just skyrocket. But I'm taking that cubic feet per month and assigning a cost per unit based on the exact cubic foot dimensions that we have at this time. So that's how I'm coming up with 14 cents per cubic foot per month. And obviously you can improve on that or be worse than that if you're holding goods longer than a month, or if you're holding goods on hand at Amazon quicker than a month, then your storage costs are going to be even better than that. But let's get back to the cost build. Let's say that your factory has quoted you $8.50 for your product. And based on the fact that we're using a wooden serving board as an example, you need to work with your freight forwarder, or your factory may know what the best HTS code is for your product. Now, what is an HTS code? Basically, it is a category that the US government, and actually all governments around the world, assign to a product and a product type. It is standard globally. So no matter where you're shipping, the HTS code should be a standardized code. But for a wooden serving board, I know what the HTS code is. I've imported this type of product many times. And I will tell you, you want to make sure that you get it right and not wrong. But using this HTS code value of would, and I've shortened that up based on what the harmonized tariff schedule says. But I know I have a HTS code of 4419.90.9000. And there's a couple things to point out here. The standard duty percentage from no matter what country I import it from, whether it's China, India, Taiwan, Vietnam, is 3.2%. This is where the tricky thing comes in, is ever since the Section 301 tariffs really were implemented a couple of years ago under the Trump administration, there's now an additional tariff still of 7.5%. So now based on our $850 cost, we're paying 27 cents in duty. Now we're paying an additional 64 cents in tariff that up until a couple of years ago was never there before. And that's going to greatly impact, the cost to land our product. Now, we also have to factor in any miscellaneous costs. I don't have anything in here now, but some of the things that might be common would be maybe you're paying a 5% commission to an agent overseas based on the purchase of your product. Well, you need to account for that somewhere. I'm going to take that out, but other miscellaneous costs that you might have is maybe you have product testing that you need to go through, or maybe you have a third-party company like SGS or Bureau Veritas, BV, maybe they do an inspection on your product that maybe it runs, 1% of your product cost. Well, you want to factor that. I'm going to take that out just to keep things simple, but it is something that you want to be wary of. So now we have pretty much a full cost build done, and we can assign a landed cost to get our product from the factory into our warehouse. But now that we've done this, I can see an immediate problem of, if you look at our margin here, well, that is a really low margin. You need to decide what margin is acceptable for your business, but 15% for any company to function is not going to cut it. That's $3.83 per unit. Remember, for Amazon, we haven't even talked about getting into things like marketing and PPC and any of the fees associated there. So we will need to negotiate off of this. If your factory's quoting you $850, where do you need to go to make money? What is healthy? Do you need to get to a 30% profit margin? We can adjust our unit cost down to see what our goal might be. Do we need to get to 750? 750 only gets you to now almost 20%. So that still doesn't move the needle that much. What about 650? Okay, 24%, it's getting better, but you can see where we're going all of this. It makes a huge difference on where you're going to land with your product. And if you're that far apart from your factory, maybe you need to start looking at other factories. And we'll have another video on how to source factories and how to negotiate with factories. But doing this cost build is a great exercise to figure out how to get you and your product and your business where you need to be successful. One thing to remember is that your product might warrant a higher retail than what you've originally given it credit for. You need to remember, in a world of Chinese sellers on Amazon now, they're skipping any importers and wholesalers and offering their product on Amazon retail directly. A lot of times you'll look at their products and you wonder, well, how can product X be so cheap? And that is why, is because they're the direct source, and they just easily fulfill product with Amazon, where a seller on the US side needs to account for managing inventory flow and space in their warehouse and all the other costs that I talked through earlier. But with that said, on retail, what happens if now maybe we bring our product price or the retail, I should say, up from $25 to $30? We go from a 24% margin to a 34% margin. So maybe now we have a little more room on unit cost. So if we go from 650 to 750, we still need to negotiate the price down with our factory from 850 that we started with. But now we're on a 30% margin, making $919 a unit. And just looking at some other profitability numbers in here that I like to look at on an order basis, if I had an initial order quantity of 500 pieces at a $30 retail, that retail value is $15,000. The sales cost at retail, if I take away the Amazon fees here, is almost $9,100, leaving me a profit of almost $4,600. So I hope by looking through this sheet, you're able to see how all of these numbers can vary, all of your costs can vary. And it's not a simple blanket statement of, Amazon takes 33% of your product and it takes 33% of your product price to get it to your warehouse, and 33% of your product cost should go to the factory. Like, it doesn't work like that. There's so many variables, and these numbers will change from one order to another order. Like, you may need to redo this cost build when you place a reorder. Last year was a great example when container costs were going from $7,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 in a few months' time. So it is important to track these things. And this is a great way to really get a grasp on the financials of your business. If you liked this video and thought it brought value to you, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps out tremendously and allows me to continue to bring you great content.